Wine stood in front of her professor, who was soon to become her husband, wearing a wedding gown. Her face showed no happiness, as if she had been forced into this marriage. Her expression held only sadness. Meanwhile, in front of her stood her professor, Akka, her soon to be husband, with a cool expression. His eyes burned with rage, his face clearly showing that he was furious and not happy with the marriage. You may kiss the bride. Jimin looked at Wine with anger as she stood there with her head bowed and sadness on her face. Jimin harshly cupped her cheeks, placed his thumbs on her lips, and kissed his thumb, creating the illusion for everyone that he had kissed Wine on the lips. The crowd cheered. Meanwhile, Wine's face remained sad. She had no expectation from Jimin at that moment. Jimin's and Wine's parents were friends and they had arranged the marriage of their elder children, Jimin and Yeri. Jimin and Yeri had known each other since childhood and had studied together. Besides being a professor, Jimin was also a mafia king, so he wanted a bold type of girl as his partner, qualities Yeri possessed. That's why he had agreed to the marriage. The two of them dated for the 6 months and their wedding had finally arrived, but suddenly Yeri disappeared. A letter was found in her room in which she mentioned that she was running away with her ex-boyfriend. Everyone shocked and worried. To save the family's reputation, Jimin's and Wine's parents requested Wine to marry Jimin. Seeing her parents' distressed faces, she frequently agreed. When Jimin found out, he was furious at Yeri's betrayal. However, under pressure from his parents, he agreed to marry Wine. Now they are here as husband and wife. Everyone congratulated the couple. At that moment, Jimin's younger brother Taeyong approached them with a sad expression. "Congratulations, bro." He handed them a gift. A little while later, Jimin and Wine left for Jimin's mansion. Find them. I want them at any cost. He yelled over the phone, his anger evident. Wine seeing he said gulped nervously. Actually, everyone expect Wine know that Jimin was also a mafia king beside being a professor. Everyone was not afraid of him because she was a leader of his 282 her. Or just asked the professor from college. "Sir," she said softly to her. Jimin turned to her with an angry expression, raising an eyebrow. "Are you talking about finding my sister?" Jimin's eyes turned red with anger. "I don't even want to see that traitor's face, understand?" He shouted with anger, making Wine confused. At the mansion, Jimin steps out of the car, slams the door shut, and walks away without waiting for Wine. Annoyed, Wine pounds as she gets out of the car and start heading inside. "Whoa, I did not know that Sir's mansion is so luxurious, but why is it giving off such a dark vibe?" As she enters the living area, she notices Jimin's parents standing there. "Why, Anjia, please don't take Jimin's favor to heart. He is still very upset because of the betrayal by your sister. His room is the first on the upper left. You go and rest. Your luggage will arrive by tomorrow." Wine bows respectfully to them and start heading to the room. However, as soon as she enters, a vase crashes to the floor near her feet and shatters into pieces. It had been thrown there by Jimin. She takes a step back in shock. He glares at her with bloodshot eyes. "What are you doing here, huh? I have not accepted you as my wife, so don't even think about stepping in my room." Hearing his raised voice, Jimin's parents come upstairs and see the messy state of his room. "What kind of his behavior is this, Jimin?" she says in a cold voice. "Mom, I only married her because you forced me to, but I will never accept her as my wife. It does not matter whether you accept her or not. You divorced with her and now she is your wife. You have to accept her." Jimin looks at Wyan, who was standing there with her head bowed, letting out a frustrated sigh. He grabs her wrist and pulled her into the room. Ah, she winces in pain as her foot steps on a piece of broken vase. "How dare you to treat Wyan like this? Did not you say she is my wife? Then whatever I do with her is none of your concern." Saying this, he slams the door shut, leaving everyone in stunned silence. As Jimin turned toward Wyan and lets go of her, "And remember one thing, I don't consider you as my wife. You are the sister of traitor." "But sir, it's not my fault in any way. Why are you angry at me?" "Because you are her sister," he says while pushing. "And what do you accept from me? That I will accept the sister of a traitor as my wife and spend my first night with her and do with her, huh?" He says the last sentence while glaring at her. A look of confusion across Wine's face. "It? What is it? What will you do?" Jimin frowns at her and raises an eyebrow. "You don't know what is it. You don't know what couples do on their first night." "Yes," she says with an innocent face. Jimin looks at her in disbelief and rubs his temple. "Have you never been in a relationship?" Wine shakes her head to say no. "How old are you?" "18." Hearing this, Jimin is shocked and moves away from her. What? In his mind, she's only 18 and I'm 29. Park Jimin, you got a kid as your wife. You look at Jimin's frustrated face and sits up. "Sir," she says innocently with looking at him, but Jimin glares at her and walks away, slamming the door shut and leaves Wine unable to understand anything and looks at her feet. which was bleeding. Slowly, she removes the piece of glass and starts treating herself. Jimin does not return to the room the entire and Thor Wine does not care about his absence. She's slightly worried about him. She falls asleep waiting for him. The next morning, Wine comes downstairs ready for going to university. She notices Jimin seated on the couch in the living area like a king surrounded by several guards. She had been confused since yesterday. Why were there so many guards in a professor's mansion? As she comes down, Jimin's eyes land on her, and seeing her reminds him of his sister's and ex-fiancé. Triggering anger, his eyes turn red, a clear sign of the hatred he harbors for Yari. Hey, where are you going? I'm going to college, sir, she said nervously, unsure of how Jimin would react. After all, he was not her brother-in-law anymore. He was now her husband. She did not know if he would allow her to continue her study. Jimin smiled at her nervousness. You are going to college without taking your husband's permission? I'm sorry. May I go to college? She asked, still hopeful that Jimin would not stop her. First of all, I'm not your professor, so stop calling me sir. And yes, you can go, but first make my breakfast. Maya looks at him in disbelief as his smug grew wider, knowing full well that she, a rich businessman's pampered daughter who lived like a princess, had likely never stepped foot in kitchen here. He did not intend to make her queen. But Jimin, I don't know how to cook breakfast. I have never done any household work at my home. That was your home. Now you are married, so you will have to do it. But I don't know how. Then learn from the maid and prepare breakfast for your husband. Okay, I will start making your breakfast from tomorrow. I'm getting late for college today. She's even polite. I don't care. I want my breakfast now. And since you are in my mansion, listen to my rule. You will not step out of this mansion without my permission. I want breakfast in the morning and dinner at night. If you don't know how, learn from the maid. Got it? His don't live by and disappointed in her own home. She never needed anyone's permission for anything. And being the youngest, she was always pampered here. This cold was harsh on her and it's hurt her. Got it? He shouts, snapping Wine out of her thoughts. Pretended by his sharp and voice for the first time, she quickly heads to the kitchen. After some time, she nervously brings out a burnt sandwich and juice, only to find Jimin no longer there. Where is Jimin? She asks one of the guards. The boss left for university. I will ever. She is shocked. If he was not going to eat, then why did he ask for it? This thought lingers in her mind as she glances at her watch. Oh no, I am late. Bayan, you need to run now. She leaves the burnt sandwich on the table and dashes out, muttering that Chuck made me late and now he will definitely scold me at university. Oh, why God, why me? She blabbers as she speeds off to college without any guard. On the other side, Jimmy steps out of the car speaking on the phone. Boss, ma'am has left for university. Should we follow her for protection? No, don't waste your time on her, petrol the mansion instead. But boss, she is no longer just a normal girl. You understand that the underworld will soon know she is Miss Park, right? I don't expect her as my wife. But boss, shut up. My enemies will not gain anything by targeting that little girl. I don't care about her. Ryan rushes into class out of breath. May I come in, sir? The entire class turns their attention to her. Jimin stares at her with dark gaze. Miss Fine, you are late, sir, but she begins hopeful that he will let her attend class since it was his fault she was late. Get out of my class, the entire class is witnessing Jimin's rare explosive anger. Known for his strict demeanor, he had never displayed such an outburst before. Fine feels humiliated for the first time, her eyes turning glossy. Without saying another word, she steps out of the classroom, standing outside in silent despair. A little later, when Jimin's class ended, he walks out of and stands directly in front of Wine. There will be a test tomorrow on what I taught today, but I could not attend today's class. How am I supposed to give the test tomorrow? That's not my problem, he says with smirk, clearly enjoying her helplessness. He looks at her frustrated figure for a moment before she finally snaps. Why are you doing this to me? What did I even do to you? Is it because of my sister? Before she can continue, Jimin cuts her half sharp. I have no interest in discussing our personal life here. He turns and walks away, leaving her fuming. Such a jerk, so arrogant. She rubs her temple in frustration before heading into the classroom to find help. Inside, she approaches one of her friends and I need your help. Can you tell me what Professor Park taught in class today? Her friends notes and begin explaining the day's lecture. Will Vine takes notes diligently, determined not to let Jimin's attitude affect her performance. In the daytime speak, Vine enters the mansion and throws herself onto the couch in the living area. Suddenly her phone rings. She picks it up and answers the call. Hello mom, Vine princess, how are you? Is everything okay over there listening to her mom's voice. Vine's mind flashes back to all moments she shared with Jimin. Just as she is about to respond, she hears some loud voice from her mom's side of the call. Mom, who are dad and brothers yelling at Vine? Your dad and brothers are looking everywhere for Yeri. Everyone is so worried. Ryan's face falls as she realizes her family is distressed because of her sister. She decided not to add to their worry by mentioning what happened between her and Jimin. Mom, Jiminchi, Wine, please. If Jimin says something hard, don't take it too hard. I know he's angry. Rightfully so. After your sister's betrayal, it's only natural for him to feel this way. Okay, Mom. With that, she ends the call and looks at her phone with disappointment. She is frustrated that her mom did not even give her a chance to explain how Jimin has been treating her, but she does not want to burden her family further and resolve to handle everything herself. While she is lost in thought, the maid approaches her. Ma'am, sir has requested you to prepare his dinner. He will be back shortly. Okay, but I don't know how to cook. Will you help me? Yes, ma'am, of course. The maid responds politely and Vine freshen up before preparing dinner with the maid's help. Unsurprisingly, the food turns out less than perfect. She sets the dishes on the dining table. Just as Jimin enters talking on the phone, he sits on a chair. I don't care how, but I need them found at any cost. Vine looks at him confused, not understanding what he is talking about. What are you staring at? Serve the food. He snaps at her. Vine quietly starts serving the food. Jimin takes one bite but immediately spit it out. Is this supposed to be food? Too much salt? Half cooked? What is this? What does this jerk think that someone can cook perfectly on their first try? Idiot. Bring another meal, he shouted at the maid. The maid quickly brings out a properly cooked dish which she had prepared earlier at Jimin's order as if he had anticipated Vine's cooking would fail. Then why did you make me cook in the first place? She speaks angrily, raising her voice slightly. Jimin shoot her at that clear, lower your voice. Vine immediately falls silent. You are going to cook every day whether I eat it or not. Here order. Vine feels infuriated. She sits at the chair with an angry pout and starts eating the food made by maid. Jimin watches her sharply, intrigued by her defense. Unlike others, Vine does not shrink away from his anger. Even Yeri used to avoid him after he raised his voice slightly, but this girl she dared to sit at the same table and eat right in front of him despite his presence. I don't just hate you, but every person connected to her and everything related to her, he said, will hurt.